looking forward to this victory. I'm looking forward to celebrating the Steelers. Holding off. There's no excuses. Calvin Austin, if this man drops another pass, I mean, what is this brother eating before the games? Is he eating bagels with extra butter and forgetting to wash his damn hands or something? You can't catch the ball? I mean, that was one of the interceptions right through his hands.
Cleveland is in complete chaos right now. The Browns are falling apart. And Shedeur Sanders' first time playing in an NFL game, it was an absolute train wreck that has everyone from Stephen A. Smith to Cam Newton demanding answers.
The offensive coordinator, what the hell is going on? You know what? Listen, you're the QB too. Shouldn't you have reps? I found it to be very, very suspicious. That's not to big up Shedeur Sanders by any way. All right, he's got a lot to prove, and is that you're Kevin Stefanski, and you know that Dylan Gabriel is in concussion protocol, and you automatically declare him as the starter next week. Why would you do that? You know, he said he'd be there next week. He's our guy. That's what he said after the game. Why? You don't know if he's going to be available. You don't know. So why would you say that? It just seemed very eerily suspicious to me. I didn't like what I saw.
The final score, Ravens 23, Browns 16. Baltimore walked out of Cleveland on Sunday, leaving behind a quarterback mess that's now the biggest story in football. Here's what happened. Dylan Gabriel gets knocked out with a concussion in the third quarter. So in comes Shedeur Sanders, the most talked about backup quarterback in the league, son of the legendary Deion Sanders, carrying one of the most famous names in football history, onto an NFL field for the very first time. And what did we see? 4 completions out of 16 attempts, just 47 yards passing, 1 interception, 2 sacks, and Baltimore scored 13 straight points in the fourth quarter to put the game away, while Shedeur looked completely lost out there. Comment King Shedeur if you love Shedeur and support him. Like this video so Kevin Stefanski gets kicked out.
He's a coach of the year, Tom Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing
Sure.
on the NFL level. I find it odd that this kind of mistake is being made with Shedeur Sanders. I'm very suspicious about it because Kevin Stefanski is a knowledgeable football-minded and accomplished head coach.
Last word here, Kim. Hurry up.
Stephen A. Smith isn't just angry, he's questioning everything. And when Stephen A. starts asking questions like this, you know something's seriously wrong in Cleveland. Let's look at the numbers from Sunday. Shedeur Sanders only completed 25% of his passes. 25%! That's not NFL-level play. That's not even college level. That's backyard football where half the team is distracted eating snacks. 47 total passing yards? Meanwhile, the Browns' defense actually played great. Myles Garrett was unstoppable, recording 4 out of the team's 5 sacks on Lamar Jackson. 4 sacks by 1 player. The defense was dominating. Sure, Derrick Henry still ran for 104 yards and a touchdown for Baltimore, but Cleveland's defense gave the offense every opportunity to win this game. But even that incredible defensive showing couldn't save Cleveland from the offensive nightmare happening on the other side of the ball. When your defense sacks Lamar Jackson 5 times and you still lose, that's completely on the offense. That's on the quarterback situation. That's on lack of preparation.
It's tough to come into a game without taking starter reps throughout the season, but he was 4 of 16 for 47 yards and an interception. That's a rough game.
Rough doesn't even begin to describe it. This was a trial by fire that made Shedeur Sanders look like he'd never played quarterback in his entire life. But the real explosion happened Monday morning on First Take, where Stephen A. Smith dropped a take so hot it set the internet on fire. He didn't just criticize Shedeur's performance. He went straight after head coach Kevin Stefanski with a theory that has NFL fans losing their minds.
I do not think Kevin Stefanski wants Shedeur Sanders to succeed in Cleveland.
One of the most respected voices in sports media just accused an NFL head coach of deliberately sabotaging his own quarterback. And he didn't stop there.
The actions is, if I'm Shedeur or if I'm a Shedeur Sanders fan, I would not want him to take the field because that's going to consistently be the display we're going to see. It doesn't matter if it's Deshaun Watson. It doesn't matter if it's Shedeur Sanders. It doesn't matter if it's Dylan Gabriel. It doesn't matter if it's Dan Orlovsky. It doesn't matter if it's Cam Newton.
Cam Newton's point. It's not about what Stefanski says to reporters, it's about his actions. the preparation or lack of it, the unbelievable fact that Kevin Stefanski admitted after the game that Shedeur hadn't gotten a single practice rep with the first-team offense before being thrown into a game against a Ravens defense that destroys unprepared quarterbacks.
What's rare to see is a quarterback that looked grossly ill-prepared to be on the football field. I'm talking about schematically. Really, you complete the first couple of passes, and then after that, you can't find anybody. It made no sense to me.
This wasn't just bad play. This was a complete system failure. This was organizational malpractice, and Stephen A. Smith is making sure everyone knows about it. If Stephen A. started the fire, Cam Newton poured gasoline all over it. The former MVP, who knows everything about quarterback preparation and what teams should do to support their QBs, absolutely destroyed the Browns for how they handled their backup quarterback situation. Cam talked about his own time in Carolina, mentioning how backup Derek Anderson got 6 to 12 practice reps every practice. Why? Because head coach Ron Rivera understood something basic that Kevin Stefanski apparently doesn't get. Cam explained exactly what proper backup preparation looks like.
We would have anywhere from 6 to 12 reps in every single practice that allowed Derek to still have an ability to say, hey, if it goes, how it goes. Not granted, some will say, well, Cam, you played the position any different.
But the most shocking detail came when Cam revealed something that left everyone speechless. Wyatt Teller, Cleveland's starting guard, said the offensive line heard Shedeur's snap count for the very first time at halftime of Sunday's game. Not in practice, not during warm-ups, at halftime of an actual NFL game, when they needed him to lead a comeback.
So for him to not have any reps, for him to have this to be his first time that he's taking first-team reps where individuals don't even know your snap count or your cadence, that is like, yo, bro, what are we doing here?
Cam didn't hold back on who's responsible.
You're responsible for how your team operates and executes, and you also are responsible for each player's development. You're not doing your job. Kevin Stefanski, bro, that's unacceptable, and I'm gonna tell you that on national TV. That's a finable offense for so many other reasons because, like, what are we doing? You're not developing the guys, right? And you're putting all your eggs in Dylan Gabriel?
An offense worthy of a fine. Cam Newton, who's been on championship teams and terrible teams, just said Kevin Stefanski's handling of Shedeur Sanders should result in a fine from the NFL office. The message is clear. Dylan Gabriel, when he was the backup behind Joe Flacco earlier in the season, probably got proper preparation. He got practice reps, he learned the offensive system, and when it was his turn to start, he was ready. So why didn't Shedeur get the same treatment? Why is there a completely different standard for the backup quarterback depending on who's playing? So what's actually going on in Cleveland? Is this really a conspiracy like Stephen A. suggests? Does Kevin Stefanski actually want Shedeur Sanders to fail because he didn't pick him? Because he's Deion's son? Because he represents things Stefanski can't control in his own locker room? Or is this just massive incompetence? A former coach of the year making inexcusable mistakes with quarterback development because he's too focused on Dylan Gabriel to worry about having a working backup plan. Stephen A. asked the question that Stefanski needs to answer.
Is that you're Kevin Stefanski and you know that Dylan Gabriel is in concussion protocol and you automatically declare him as the starter next week? Why would you do that? You know, he said he'd be there next week. He's our guy. That's what he said after the game. Why? You don't know if he's going to be available. You don't know.
It's strange. It's suspicious. It looks like either sabotage or shocking incompetence from an organization that's already struggling to figure out their quarterback situation. Let's step back for a moment. The Browns are paying Deshaun Watson $46 million, and he's injured. They're starting Dylan Gabriel, who just got a concussion. Their backup quarterback just had possibly the worst debut in recent NFL history, and their offensive line doesn't even know that backup snap count.
When you have a quarterback that's still making $46 million on your roster and he's not healthy, that impacts the talent that's around him. They are not a good team.
Cleveland is stuck. They're paying Watson money that stops them from building a winning team. They're rushing Dylan Gabriel back too soon, and they're completely ignoring quarterback development for anyone not named Dylan Gabriel. But here's where it gets interesting. Richard Sherman pointed out that with Dillon Gabriel likely out another game due to concussion protocol, Shedeur might get his first start next week against the Raiders. Here's the truth. Whether you believe Stephen A's conspiracy theory or think this is just terrible coaching, the result is exactly the same. Shedeur Sanders was set up to fail on Sunday. The Browns organization failed him, Kevin Stefanski failed him, and now, with Dillon Gabriel in concussion protocol and the season hanging in the balance, Cleveland has no choice but to hope Shedeur can somehow turn this disaster around. The irony, Cleveland's defense actually gave them a chance to win. 5 sacks on Lamar Jackson, Myles Garrett playing like a man on a mission with 4 of those sacks. The defense was dominating. Sure, Derrick Henry still ran for 104 yards and a touchdown for Baltimore, but Cleveland's defense gave the offense every opportunity to win this game. But even that incredible defensive showing couldn't save Cleveland from the offensive nightmare happening on the other side of the ball. When your defense sacks Lamar Jackson 5 times and you still lose, that's completely on the offense. That's on the quarterback situation. That's on lack of preparation.
You plan for the what-ifs in this league. You don't know if you're going to have your quarterback. What about Joe Burrow?
Even elite quarterbacks get hurt. Even healthy quarterbacks go down. Having your backup unprepared isn't just bad coaching, it's organizational failure. But Stephen A wasn't buying any excuses.
I find it odd that this kind of mistake is being made with Shedeur Sanders. I'm very suspicious about it because Kevin Stefanski is a knowledgeable football mind and an accomplished head coach.
Last word.
That's the real question, isn't it? How does a Coach of the Year winner make this kind of mistake? How does a smart football mind let his backup quarterback take the field without his offensive line ever hearing his snap count in practice? Kevin Stefanski has questions to answer. The Browns organization needs to be held accountable. And Shedeur Sanders? He's got one more chance to prove this nightmare debut was caused by lack of preparation, not a sign of his NFL future. The Raiders game will tell us everything. Will Cleveland actually prepare their quarterback this time? Will Shedeur get a real opportunity to show what he can do? Or will we see another disaster that proves Stephen A's darkest suspicions were right? One thing's certain, Stephen A. Smith and Cam Newton aren't letting this go. Cleveland better have answers ready because the sports media is demanding accountability for what happened on Sunday. The disaster is real. The questions are legitimate. And the Browns? They're running out of excuses.